Yeah, I didn't take any.
It's okay.
notes.
You could always play back everything and figure out.
Well, yeah. No, I figured just pay
Okay.
attention.
All right, we're all ready. We have only half an hour, so we're gonna.
Other people on?
So far one, hopefully more. So some other people told me they were coming on, so hopefully they'll be on today. It is a different time today, but that shouldn't stop us from
Well, you gotta be
studying.
In Judaism, you have to be flexible.
In some ways, we have to be flexible. In some ways, not, right?
Yeah, you gotta keep kosher, but
Yeah.
Right.
well, in the Tanya, it probably will say somewhere along the line that people have to be flexible in some areas.
I
It's
guess.
funny you said that. I mean, last week I missed because I had.
I mean, do you have to be flexible? Flexible with Judaism? No, but
I'm
flexible.
saying that life throws you curves. You have to be able to handle it.
Yeah.
They
100%.
asked me to go into work last week, so I went into work. They told me again on my way here, can you come into work?
What do you do that they
I was not gonna be flexible. I said, no.
what do you do that they call you like that?
Anyways, I want to get rolling here. So we're going to be, if you have the Tanya, it's going to be on.
People die.
Yeah, your business is kind of, you never know.
You never know.
So
What do you drive the truck? No.
is everything. We're going to be at page 39. Okay. We're going to be page 39.
I don't know. Move over here.
Thank you.
Huh?
I said it should move. So
Oh, so you could be along with you. So I'm going to give an introduction as last week. And again, we have only half an hour. We'll go to 5:30 because then we have services. So last week we started discussing the animalistic soul. We discussed the difference between saying we have a good inclination and evil inclination versus saying we have an animalistic soul and a godly soul.
godly soul and evil soul.
And well, not evil soul, animalistic soul. Very big
Animal-
difference.
I meant godly soul and animal soul, but the animal soul can have evil.
The animal soul can have evil inclinations, but at its core, it's an animal, which means it can also want good things if for animalistic reasons, right? So
Right.
animal is not entirely evil, it's just selfish. Selfish is not always evil, bad, right?
Right.
Although ultimately we learn that ego is the root of all bad. But the point is that the animal soul,
Lions don't have ego.
lions don't have egos. What do you mean? They fight, for the best mate. Anyways, it doesn't make a difference regardless. It's the human animal soul that we're discussing. Okay. It's not an entire analogy. So what we've started talking about is how the animalistic soul is the main part of our body. When people say we're an animal, they're in a sense correct. Because we have to operate through eating and drinking and all that stuff. However, the godly soul comes within the animal soul and can operate through the animalistic soul. Okay, so for more information,
we're born with the godly soul and the animal soul.
we are actually born with the animal soul. The
Oh.
godly soul actually comes in stages. It only fully invests itself within
But you
us
said it's like
at our bar and bat mitzvah.
inside.
Yeah, I said the godly soul has to operate through the animal soul.
Oh, the animal soul is born with us because the baby needs food and cries.
Yeah, the baby. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, kids are animalistic, so to speak. They only focus on themselves and they're eating and they're drinking. It says that the godly soul comes in slowly. It comes in stages. It first starts, hello. It comes in first as for a boy, it says it comes in more at the Brit Milah. You can take a real chair. You don't need a small chair. There's a real chair. Okay. It says it first comes in the Brit Milah, the circumcision. It comes in even more by the upsterness, cutting of the hair. But ultimately, the godly soul fully comes into our bodies at the bar or bat mitzvah. That's why we only become obligated in mitzvahs at our bar and bat mitzvah, because the godly soul has finally fully come into us. Yeah, bar or bat mitzvah, when you're 12 for a girl, 13 for a boy. That's why you suddenly become obligated. And again, you can see it. A child is very selfish. As they get older, they can start to understand the world outside of them. What is that? That's a godly soul. Less ego, being able to look at a world outside of them, meaning and purpose. Okay. So this all brings us to what we're going to discuss today. And that is, we're going to discuss the evil inclination, we're going to discuss the animal soul and how it is a source of bad things. Okay. So again, going back to where we're starting, we're trying to understand ourselves, and that way we know how to deal with our internal selves. We discussed Judaism is not just about the action, but it's about the internals. So understanding the internals means understanding the animal soul. So the animal soul, last week we just said in general that it's the animalistic soul, and it comes from the other side to an extent. This week we're going to discuss what comes from it. What comes from the animalistic soul? Okay, so we're going to start like this. Everybody's familiar with the elements. The element, right? How many elements are there on the element on the table? Huh? Not in Judaism. I'm saying on the table, the elements table. The table of elements. Yeah, it gets very large, right?
Yeah.
It's in the hundreds, right?
Yeah.
However, Judaism says there's 4 basic elements, which means if you break everything down, you can say there are 4 basic elements to the world. And they are Aish, fire, Ruach, spirit or wind, Mayim, water, and Afar, earth or dirt.
Right.
Those are the 4 basic elements. Fire, water, wind, and earth. Rain would be part of water and wind. Rain, okay, so the 4 elements, everything is a mixture of all of them.
Right.
Some have more of one over the other. Okay.
Yeah.
But everything is really a mixture of the 4 basic elements. Okay. So for example, while we're alive, the element of dust is a little bit less than when we pass away, right?
Yeah.
Then, it says that everything in this world keeps changing from all these 4 elements, and they break apart, and they merge into other things. It's like someone that passes away and then their body decomposes and then turns into a vegetable. I don't mean vegetable like vegetable. I mean like, things growing out of the ground. So things like that. Everything in this world is constantly in motion, going from one thing to the other.
Yeah, I thought spiritual was an element, but I guess we're going to talk about that.
Is spiritual one? Well, you can put it under ruach, spirit or wind. Yeah. But today we're going to discuss the bad side of these 4 elements.
Okay.
So just like physically there are 4 elements, spiritually there are 4 elements, which means that your animalistic soul has 4 elements. And from these 4 basic elements come all of the negative character traits that we have. So what would fire? What would fire be a negative element? Huh? Anger, right? Right. The depiction of anger is always fire. But what else? It's heat. It's moving up. It's destruction. Well, anger probably is part of destruction. You could also say ego, the flaming fire of ego. That's fire. Water, everything in life that's pleasurable has to have water in it. Water gives pleasure to everything. If it's dried out, there's no enjoyment, right? It's too dry. That's why people love Florida, because it's humid. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. They like the water maybe, but so water corresponds to all pleasurable things, okay? Wind is things that are, let's say, hot air, laziness, or vanity, laziness, vanity, sadness, it even says in here, is wind. Maybe that's part of spirit. Oh, no, sorry, Afar. Sorry, Afar is wind. He says in here, he has a text in here. Jokes, laughing. That tells me I should tell my joke now, right? Jokes can be holy, of course. But too much laughter, too much entertainment. And earth is heaviness, things that pull you down, depression and things like that. So we all have within our own lives. We get these 4 different elements at different moments in our lives. Sometimes we feel full of fire. We're burning up with anger. Some of us sometimes suffer with water. We suffer with too much pleasure, too much good food. Sometimes we suffer with the wind, too much emptiness, just full of hot air. Wind just moves around. It's not substantial, doesn't go anywhere. Or sometimes we're just being pulled down by earth, each and every single one of us, right? So you wake up in the morning, you might wake up with depression. And as you go the day, you might have some moments of laziness, and you might have some moments of anger. You might have some moments of focusing on pleasure. In fact, you could go your whole day just doing all these 4 things, right? All these 4 elements.
Yeah.
And that would be a day which is totally governed by your animalistic soul. So we have to understand, it's important to understand, because sometimes people believe that these things are good. People believe depression is good.
Why would they think
Who
that?
believes it?
Some people believe
Depression is good?
sadness. Well, there's different types of sadness we'll discuss later. The Tanya will later on discuss certain types of sadness are good, certain types of sadness are bad. But let's give an example spiritually. I'm so depressed over my sins. People can convince themselves, huh?
That's why it's created.
Oh, so depression is never good. You can be bitter, you can't be depressed. It's 2 different things. Because sometimes people get so sad over their sins, but they don't do anything because of it. They just feel bad, right? It's just a bad feeling. You have to be careful. Tanya will discuss later on more at length, but you can have things that look good, but they're actually really bad. Anger. A lot of people think sometimes their anger is very important. Maybe they're getting angry at their kids, they're angry at their spouse, or I think they're, getting the world to run right with their anger, right? With anger, they can get things to run right. Manipulation, yeah. Or pleasure. Doesn't God want us to have a good life? No, I'm sure he does. But we get too caught up in the pleasure. You also have, laziness. Where do people think laziness is good? I don't know. Vacations are all the rage nowadays. Not saying vacations are always bad, but there's all these people anti-work today, right? You're familiar with those, the people that are anti-work.
I would say it's more anti-stress.
Anti-stress. So again, it all depends where it's coming from.
Yeah.
But life has to have an element of stress in it. There's no
Sometimes stress is good.
Well, yes, always in measure, correct. But we can't go through life expecting life to be easy.
Yeah.
We always have to push ourselves for more.
Yeah.
Now, what's interesting is that
Why isn't my thing?
now, by the way, what's interesting is that all of these things, anything that's bad can also be taken to the good. So jokes, for example, it's a great one. Jokes can be bad or jokes can be good, right? Sometimes jokes can be used for a Torah class, or it can be a frivolous joking that, just watching entertainment all day. What do you call, by the way, a pea that's very angry?
What?
A pea.
A pea?
Yeah, the
Is
thing you
very
eat.
angry.
Grumpy. Okay. See, these jokes are worth it, right?
Where do you get these jokes?
That joke is from analytics, all right?
Do you have a joke book for rabbis?
There are joke books. They're not very good. Right?
Well, apparently jokes can be bad. Grumpy.
You see, jokes can be bad, right? That's our good friend Rick. I thought Bruce got so upset at the joke he jumped off. So talking about bad character traits. So there's a husband and a wife, and the husband turns to the wife and says, "I never understand. Whenever I get angry at you, you never retort back. How do you deal with it?" She says, "Well, whenever you get angry at me, I just clean the toilets." He says, "Clean the toilets? How does that help?" She says, "Well, I clean the toilets with your toothbrush." Okay. Anyways,
We digressed.
yeah. Well, we're talking about bad character traits. So this is part of the class. Bad jokes, bad character traits. So let's take a look in the Tanya. You have over here, the Tanya is going to spell out for us how these things can give us bad character traits. So let's take a look. It's going to be on page 39. Okay, now, so we're going to say, We're going to read from where it says, where you have the Hebrew words. And so it says like this: from the animal soul, which is invested directly into the body, all the bodily temperaments arise. This is a reference to the classical model of the four temperaments. In this system, various natural temperaments or humors of personality are understood to arise from the body itself rather from the mind. The four temperaments: choleric, phlegmatic, sanguine, and melancholic. And I'm not, he's obviously,
Where is it? I don't see it.
you don't see it, page 39.
Choleric,
Okay.
Sorry, what am I saying? It's page 41.
phlegmatic.
41 or 30?
No, 39. You are correct.
It is 39? Oh, you're right. It is 39. Yeah.
This
This is
is
the
the
website you go to, and you can put in your answer questions, and it'll tell you mine is sanguine and melancholic.
They have the four temperaments. Okay.
Yeah.
So apparently there's a classical model. So the Judaism closely parallels the classical subdivision of matter into four elemental forms: fire, water, air, and earth. In Kabbalah, this idea is developed further, and the four elements are depicted not only in physical, but also in spiritual phenomena. Just as the body is composed of four physical elements, the soul is understood to be composed of four spiritual elements: fire, water, air, and earth. Following these classical models, the Tanya will now explain the four temperaments of the body actually flow from the four spiritual elements present in animal soul. He says, the negative temperaments stem from the negative side of the animal soul's four spiritual elements. Let's read, let's move on to the next page. 40. According to Kabbalah, each of the four elements, both in their physical and spiritual forms, have a good and evil side. As Rabbi Chaim Vital explains, you should know that Adam's sin eating from the tree of good and evil resulted in both his soul and body likewise becoming a mixture of good and evil, and this caused such a mixing to occur in all the physical and spiritual worlds. Now, there's nothing which does not contain both good and evil. So anything that you have contains good and evil, which means fire can both be good and bad. Anything that you have in the world is both good and bad. You know, it's so different than today where we try and, you know, everything is in boxes and we like, you know, this is bad, this is good. Well, maybe there's a mixture, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Republicans and Democrats, neither is good and neither is evil. Maybe they're a mixture, right? It's not a possibility, huh? Echoing Rabbi Chaim Vital's discussion, the Tanya now details the four elements of the animal soul alongside the bodily temperaments they give rise to. We will begin with the negative side of the elements, which is the strongest energy in the animal soul. Namely, the temperament of anger and arrogance from the negative side of the element of fire in the animal soul. So again, fire gives anger and arrogance, which, by the way, they're very much related. A lot of people think anger is righteous anger, right? Today's society, there's a lot of righteous anger going on.
Is there any other kind?
Oh, yeah.
So the Tanya tells us that anger is typically ego anger. Someone touched your ego somehow, and that's why you're getting angry. It's a whole different flip of the script.
Some people say anger is the opposite of fear or something. Or love. I don't know. I don't remember what it was.
It's very interesting. Anger is, and sometimes, you know, a lot of things are counterintuitive, like, not counterintuitive, but you wouldn't realize it right away. Like, a lot of people have big egos, actually suffer from very low self-esteem. It's a very interesting thing, but it's all ways of compensating. So, but anger, a lot of times there are people with low self-esteem and something is touching onto their ego.
Well, how about when somebody cuts you off?
Someone cuts you off. So tell me, so why are you getting angry at them that they cut you
I
off?
almost hit somebody in that, and I gave him the finger. That was it.
So somebody cuts you off.
Like this. What do you think? If I'm driving like this and somebody comes diagonally out of a parking lot, I mean, that's insane.
You should start first.
It's insane.
You have to first, the first thing should not be, what are you thinking? It should be maybe
It
he's.
pisses me off that people are stupid.
So people that are stupid get you angry.
Yeah.
Let's say, why are you getting angry? For what?
Because I almost hit him.
So you almost hit him. Okay.
I stopped because I'm alert. I'm just saying.
So wouldn't it make more sense that you'd be scared, not angry? I mean, what do you mean? You got cut off. You almost.
I did almost.
You almost
Here's the
you
thing.
almost banged your car.
Right. Here's the thing. I mean,
I'm scared.
person does something and you react a certain way or you act a certain way. Whereas somebody else may act a different way.
Well, they're gonna go.
You know, it's that they do the same thing, but it's, you know, your soul that's doing this, right?
You're the one that's getting angry.
Yeah, I'm not.
Yeah, so it's.
I am, yeah.
It's you know.
I always like to say that anger is like swallowing poison and expecting your enemy to die from it.
No,
It's a good line I've heard, huh?
Barbara used
Oh, yeah, it's a good one.
That's a good one.
Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
it's like swallowing a poison, expecting your enemy to what? I'm not saying I don't get angry when someone cuts me off, but you want to diffuse that anger, realizing that it's coming from your animal soul.
After a while, I'm stay angry.
No, but you want to understand that being angry doesn't do you any good.
Of course.
Right.
It's not going to get the other guy to drive any better. Yeah,
Many worries.
I'm just telling you what happened. If you-
it's like a rocking chair. It's good. Rick, what do you want to say about anger?
No,
No, anger and ego. Right?
Yeah.
The people that stay angry for longer typically have a bigger ego. How could that guy do it to me? Doesn't he know who I am? Wasn't I driving right? You know?
No, it's the anger. Matter of fact, went away pretty quickly.
That's why I said you don't have a big
That's
ego.
healthy for you.
That's good if it
But
goes
at
away
the
pretty
moment-
quickly.
I mean,
Look, okay, so let me also pause for a second. We have what's called knee-jerk reactions. When someone hits you, right? When you go to the doctor, he hits your knee, and it,
Right.
pops up. It's called knee-jerk reaction. You are not judged in life on your knee-jerk reaction. God is not going to judge you on your knee-jerk reaction. In other words, someone cuts you off, you have a moment where you get angry. Okay. Now that you've noticed that you've gotten angry, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to dissipate it, or are you going to let it grow? That's what God's going to judge you on.
Yeah.
The knee-jerk reaction is not much you can do about. Okay, maybe over time you work on yourself and you can slowly work and you get less angry at the moment. But again, understand that Tanya is not going to tell you you're going to be judged. Actually, that's the basics of the Tanya. It's going to say having an animal soul means you're always going to have bad tendencies. The question is, once you realize that you're doing that, right?
Yeah.
What do you do then? So when someone cuts you off, you right away get angry. Okay, that's fine. Now what are you going to do? That's where your judgment. That's where your life's work is. That's where your life's
That's
mission is.
exactly it. I mean, it's a practice.
Yeah.
Yeah, really a practice. I mean, there's no goal. It's, you know, who are you going to be in that moment, from moment to moment to moment to moment, because those things are always going to come up in life.
Yeah. We're the mission in life, as we're going to get to later, is what are we doing every single moment?
Yeah.
You know, it's not this big giant
It's-
goal at the end. If only I became a tzaddik, then I'd be
I call it
give up on that because you're not becoming a tzaddik.
Right.
So as non-tzaddiks, our goal in life is not to become the tzaddik, but the moment.
It should be, to an extent, we should strive for it.
We'll discuss later to what extent you can strive to be a tzaddik, but you can't, because tzaddik is not within our reach. We cannot 100% become a tzaddik, as we'll discuss later in the Tanya. It's a gift from God, so we can't ultimately make that our goal, because there's no way you can't make a goal of something you can't reach. If God wants to give it to you as a gift, He could, but we can't.
But he gets
If God wanted me to be an angel, He would have made me an angel.
Well, He may still, but there's no promises.
Maybe,
There's no promises on
maybe
that.
in the next life.
All right, so he continues. Sheneg b'lamayla, the overstated self-image of arrogance reflects physical fire's tendency to rise upwards. Good line, the overstated self-image of arrogance. That's what arrogance is, overstated self-image. True humility comes from, once you have real humility, realizing that we're all just nothing and just blessings from God, and what makes us something is our mission in life, then when someone gets you angry, you worry about them. You don't worry about yourself. So who cares? Or, someone cuts you off. Thank God I'm okay. Thank God, could have been dangerous. Well, you could pray for that. Well, we don't even know why that person cut you off. It's another story. Sometimes, by the way, people cut you off, they don't even notice. Cut you off. You're getting all angry at them and they have you ever get angry at somebody and they have no idea what you're angry about? They say it happens in marriage sometimes, but somebody gets all angry, all worked up, and the other person has no idea what the heck they did. Right?
Every day.
Oh yeah, okay. Wasn't gonna get into detail over here.
Every other day,
Uh-huh. Rabbi Chaim Vital explains, it is a result of a person's arrogance that he becomes angry, seeing that people do not comply with his will. Like I should have driven like I wanted to. If you were humble, recognizing its shortcomings, you would not become angry at all. So arrogance and anger are in fact the same temperament. Anger is almost always a feeling of you wanting to control what happened, right? Why do we get angry at our child? Because I don't know about you, you don't get angry at your children. Sometimes I, have a knee-jerk reaction of anger, right? They didn't do something, they messed up their bed, they messed up the toys. It's a knee-jerk reaction of anger. Why? Because they didn't comply with my will. It happens in our interactions with people. Why are these people being idiots? They should be doing how I think the world should be run. Why did the president vote this way or the Senate vote this way? Why did these people vote this way? Those people vote that way? As I always say, everybody's entitled to my opinion, right? But ultimately, it's arrogance. So even if I think I have it right, but I don't know, God has his plan, and the world doesn't have to comply to my will, and just leave it. You do what you do, and that's it. Maybe try and convince people, get people in. People are going to make people are always going to make stupid decisions. You think you're going to convince the whole world to follow your will? It's never going to happen. Never going to happen. So, good evening. Okay, we're studying a little Tanya. The negative temperament has 3 derivatives. 1, resentment in the heart. Take a seat.
Absolutely.
Okay, 1, resentment in the heart. For without arrogance, there would be no resentment in the heart. 2, seeking power and honor to show off to others. 3, hatred for somebody because he's greater than you. Right, so anger can come out in resentment. It can be in seeking power and honor. Well, that's more arrogance or hatred. Okay, anyways. All right, so that was anger. I think we discussed anger enough. Maybe we could discuss water for a moment. So we discussed the negative character trait of anger. Let's discuss water for a moment. Physical gratification, the temperament of seeking physical gratification and pleasures, which stems from the negative side of the element of water in the animal soul, reflecting the physical reality that all pleasures are ultimately cultivated from water. The derivatives of this negative temperament are 2. 1 is coveting, desiring, things that aren't yours because you're so full of pleasure. Or 2, jealousy, to be jealous of others. I don't know why he doesn't have it here. Generally, a life chasing after pleasure is a problem, as he'll discuss later on in the Tanya. That's not really a discussion of here. Tanya will later on discuss if something's not godly, it's automatically not good. It's not godly, it's not good. But putting that aside, clearly negative is seeking pleasure, which leads to jealousy or coveting.
Well, what?
Coveting, right? Desiring
That's not yours.
something that's not yours, right? So you're a kid in school, your friend has something that you don't have, you scheme ways to get it. People get older, we usually respect those boundaries, but we hope so, right? But jealousy, I spoke about a couple of weeks ago in a class on Shabbos about how jealousy, there's such a thing as good jealousy, of course. This is why we say all these things exist on the good and the bad. There is good jealousy, and as it says, kinat sofrim tarba chachma. There would be, the Talmud says, nobody would get married, nobody would have kids, nobody would go to work or something. It says, like, if not for jealousy in the world, a lot of good things wouldn't happen either. So jealousy can be okay if A, it leads you to do something good, and B, you don't want to take away from the other person.
You don't want to hurt anyone.
Right. In other words, you're jealous, not that you want to take away with that person. You want to get what they have as well. You want to reach there without taking away from them. There's jealousy in which you'd be happy just that person lost all their money, right? You have a lot of those sour.
Taking away.
Yeah, taking away. A good jealousy can be in a way that you would like to have what they have.
Cause you to work for it.
Yeah, makes you to work harder, and so that's what the Talmud says. Jealousy makes the world run round. Makes
We'll call it respect.
respect.
Yeah. For somebody else.
Well,
In that type of way.
uh-huh.
That you want
Listen to what he just said.
Respect.
Yeah. So I respect what you have, and I would like to be like that.
Yeah.
So that is showing respect. I think.
You respect what they have, and therefore you want it. Well,
Yeah.
that would be a good jealousy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Someone posted in here, we discussed the class about how jealousy can be good. Exactly. It's on differentiating. Jealousy can be bad. Jealousy can be good. Bad jealousy is not so much that you want it, but you want the other person doesn't have it. And also being jealous of negative things that other people have is obviously a bad jealousy. So jealousy, like everything else, can be good, can be bad. Right, we discussed how right, it was a story with Rachel and Leah about their, about the lack of jealousy there. We're gonna have to stop because it's 5:30. And next week we'll discuss the other two elements of
Okay, but
41 next week.
you don't have to.
okay.
I got 6.
Anybody has any comments before I go?
4, 5, 6.
She can't be a minion.
Minion.